Speaking about this film, it's such a fun Christmas film for the whole family, I feel. And I feel like there have been similar projects like this before, but definitely none that were led by Black people, of course. So, what drew you to this project in particular?
Well, David called me to give me the offer. He described it to me, and it sounded like so much fun. And then when he told me that um, Phil Lawrence and um, John Legend were doing the music, I was like, oh, so this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're rolling for the Christmas movie.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think he had even cast everybody yet. We didn't talk about cast. We just talked about
Mm.
what it was going to be, what he wanted it to be, and then he told me who was doing the music, and I said, "Well, that sounds good to me." Because Christmas movies, you can get it real wrong. You can get it really wrong, and I think that he and we got this one right, and it's exciting.
I think it's just like nothing that we've seen. Again, like I've said, that I feel like we've kind of seen that kind of area before, but not with Black people. And it's just good to see such a very, very Black production, and the singing and like all the whole works, but with us at the forefront. And I think that was
With
like
us at the forefront, not talking about us.
that too. And
We
it's
are in the movie, living and being,
mhm,
just
mhm,
enjoying, being sad, being happy, laughing, having fun,
yeah.
being a part of a holiday, and there's no commentary, and I think that that's beautiful, particularly because we
Somebody's
are
not discriminated against.
no, it doesn't, and we're not talking about discrimination, we're not talking about any of those things. We are living our best lives,
Yeah.
which have challenges and problems, but joy and magic,
Hmm.
and it happens to be in a Victorian era, and we
Yeah.
are still living our best lives and moving freely through the world, and that is a beautiful thing to see because
Mhm.
there were people in that era who moved freely through the world.
Hmm.
And we don't get to see that often enough. There are people who made their own livings. There are people who changed the world in big and small ways who looked like us in that era. And we don't see it enough.
Yeah, and I like to kind of call it organic joy too on screen. It wasn't like it wasn't set up to be anything. They didn't have to go through like these I guess cliche obstacles that you see in these
Right.
things, which I think sometimes happens a lot in holiday films. There's kind of like this formula where someone doesn't like their job and then randomly meet somebody and they move to like Nebraska or Montana or somewhere and they fall in love. That's kind of like what we see a lot. But just having us here and like again, like I said, there's no type of component like, midway through, one of the kids doesn't like face anything that they shouldn't be facing in a movie like this. And I think that's cool. I think it's definitely a cool thing about it.
Yeah.
Uh, but speaking of representation and stuff, you really set the blueprint when you voice Princess Tiana and Princess and the Frog. And every time I feel like we talk about representation, especially on social media, everyone always goes back to that. And though it was animated, I feel like the work left such an indelible mark on the culture, especially in that space. So in a time where we have, Chloe Bailey as Ariel, and then recently Yara Shahidi announced as being
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell,
Mhm.
how does it feel to see Black women in these spaces, especially in live action, considering you were so groundbreaking in that role? That wasn't even that long ago.
No, it wasn't. How about
Yeah.
that? uh, I think that I think it's necessary. I think it's beautiful. But I am a firm proponent of the fact that children need to see themselves in fantasy. They need
Mhm.
to know that they exist in the whimsical, that they exist in magic, that they are worthy of the crown,
Mhm.
and it's really important that they know that. It's important that we get to see ourselves that way, and it's important that our children's peers get to see them that way because it changes the DNA in children and the way that they are able to move through the world. And it changes the way that their peers expect to see them. Mm-hmm. And it is my deep hope that it allows children who see us within their fantasy, whether it's our children or other children, expect to see us in all facets of life. Mm-hmm. And that is how it should be, because we are in all facets of life, and we can be in all facets of life.
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of bothers me sometimes when we talk, when you see a casting and then someone's like, oh, that can't happen, and you're like, you're saying it can't happen because that's the reason why you have not seen it yet. So if you have not seen it yet, of course that's why you're like that. So we have to like change the way that we think, and then people change the way that they think, and then it seems normal.
It's a reprogramming.
Yeah,
the reason you don't see us in those spaces is because that was the plan. You know what I mean? It was important not to see us in those spaces, because otherwise it's hard to say somebody is less than when they're flying on a dragon. Mm-hmm. You know, when they're making magic, when they're, I don't know, living in a world beyond ours. How do you say that person is less than? Mm-hmm. So you make sure that they're not there. But here's what I know. If Black folks have made it through antiquity, have built pyramids, have made it through slavery, have made it through this last administration,
it's a rough one.
We're gonna see you in space. You're not gonna get to space without us. We will be there. So don't pretend that we're not in your futuristic sci-fi environment, because we will be there.
It's just like thinking about it differently. It's not going to happen until the change happens. And then when the change happens, it becomes normal. So I think it's just, continuing to make these necessary changes and adjustments, such as, having Ariel as a Black woman, hopefully with locks. I hope with locks. And I feel like that's going to be so monumental for us. And
let's make it clear, it's a mermaid.
Yes, too.
That's not even a real thing.
And we're already existing outside of like this sphere.
Yeah, it's a mermaid.
That's the case. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. And one final question I have is, I feel like this is a Christmas film that a lot of people may think as a holiday favorite going on. So what are some of your favorite Christmas movies that you always have to watch when the time comes around?
I love How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the cartoon. Mm-hmm. About it. I love The Year Without a Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. I love Rudolph because I love the Bumble. I love the Bumble. I love the movie Love Actually, mm-hmm. which I don't know if people consider that a Christmas movie, but I consider it a Christmas movie. And like and people clown it and they say it's corny and whatever, but I cry on that thing every single Christmas. And I love what we just created, and I'm honored and excited to be a part of putting it into the Christmas catalog.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good entry in that catalog. Thank you so much for your time. I can't wait for everyone to see this movie. I think it's going to definitely have an impact. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trey. Appreciate it.